Let us pray. We give thanks to God for the rich heritage of this province as found in our people. We pray that native-born Albertans and those who come from other places may continue to work together to preserve and enlarge the precious heritage called Alberta. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to present a petition from 158 teachers representing 8 schools in the Wainwright constituency regarding the Teachers' Retirement Fund.
Reading and receiving petitions.
The member for Calgary Foothills.
I move the petitions for private bills that I presented to the Assembly yesterday be deemed to have now been read and received.
The Assembly concur with the motion of the honourable member for Calgary Foothills. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried. The honourable member for Edmonton Avonmore.
I would ask that the petition I tabled yesterday please be read and received.
We, the undersigned, parents and friends of lesbians and gays, respectfully ask the Legislative Assembly to urge the government to protect our children and other Albertans from discrimination based on sexual orientation. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions. Introduction of bills.
The Honourable Associate Minister of Agriculture.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill 17, the Irrigation District Rehabilitation Endowment Fund Act. This being a money bill, His Honor, the Honourable Lieutenant Governor, having been informed of the contents of this bill, recommends same to the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, the purpose of this act is to establish an endowment fund that will secure long-term financial support for the rehabilitation of the irrigation district's water distribution infrastructure. It will ensure efficient and effective management of scarce water resources in southern Alberta and will provide ongoing support to the water users. This act will also protect the economic contribution of the Alberta irrigation-based economy.
Having heard the motion by the Honourable Associate Minister of Agriculture for first reading of Bill number 17, Irrigation District Rehabilitation Endowment Fund Act, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 17, Irrigation District Rehabilitation Endowment Fund Act, introduced by Honourable Mrs. McClellan, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill number 20, the Alberta Local Employment Transfer Act. This being a money bill, His Honor, the Honourable Lieutenant Governor, having been informed of the contents of this bill, recommends the same to the Assembly. Mr. Speaker, the contents of the bill and the intent of the bill is to distribute as soon as third reading has taken place and consent of the Lieutenant Governor a per diem payment of $79.25, which has been funded through the surplus of the Alberta Municipal Planning Corporation, or the equivalent of $200 million to the municipalities of this province for their unconditional use.
The Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs has moved first reading of Bill number 20, Alberta Local Employment Transfer Act. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 20, Alberta Local Employment Transfer Act, introduced by the Honourable Mr. Fowler, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Foothills.
Speaker, I am pleased to introduce Bill number 18, the Mines and Minerals Amendment Act 1992. Bill 18 proposes amendments which are primarily of the housekeeping nature. The amendments add ministerial authority to the levying of pecuniary penalties It clarifies the process for requesting royalty recalculation. It extends the period for record retention from 5 to 6 years and adds a remedy of monetary compensation for mineral compensation. Mr. Speaker, I look forward to the debate on Bill 18 during second reading.
The honourable member for Calgary Foothills has moved first reading of Bill number 18, Mines and Minerals Amendment Act 1992. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 18, Mines and Minerals Amendment Act 1992, introduced by the honourable member Mrs. Black, is now read her first time.
The honourable member for Calgary Bow.
Speaker, I request leave to introduce Bill 19, the Mobile Home Sites Tenancy Amendment Act. The bill will amend the Mobile Home Sites Tenancy Act, Statutes of Alberta, 1982, Chapter M-18.5. It will make changes to the Act which I feel will achieve a fair and equitable balance between the rights and responsibilities of landlords and tenants in this area. Major amendments will allow tenants to dispose of, transfer, sublet, or assign their mobile home without interference or restriction, provide better security of tenure, recognize the tenant's right to privacy, and protect security deposits. It will provide landlords with a more effective means of dealing with those who substantially breach their tenancy agreement and make it easier for landlords to dispose of abandoned goods. The amendments will make the legislation relevant to contemporary needs and make the residential tenancy law in the province uniform. Thank you.
Having heard the motion by the honourable member for Calgary Bow for first reading of Bill number 19, Mobile Home Sites Tenancies Amendment Act 1992, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 19, Mobile Home Sites Tenancies Amendment Act 1992, introduced by the honourable member Mrs. Lang, is now read a first time.
The Honourable Deputy Government House Leader.
Speaker, I move that Bill number 18, introduced by the honourable member for Calgary Foothills, and Bill 19, introduced by the honourable member for Calgary Bow, be placed in the order paper under Government Bills and Orders.
Does the Assembly agree with the motion of the Honourable Deputy Government House Leader? Agree. Opposed? So ordered.
Tabling returns and reports.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to table with the Assembly the annual report of Alberta Health and the statistical supplement of the Alberta Healthcare Insurance Plan for fiscal year ended March 31, 1991.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Avonmore.
Speaker, I wish to table a number of petitions signed by parents and friends of lesbian and gay people asking that sexual orientation become a protected category in the Individual Rights Protection Act.
The Solicitor General.
To table an answer to motion for return 220.
The Honourable, the Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Speaker, I would like to file the 1991 annual report of the Canadian Council of Ministers of the Environment.
Member for Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to table documents outlining how it is that this government has increased taxes over 80 times during the Getty-Johnson era from 1986 to 1992.
Introduction of special guests.
The Honourable Minister of Public Works, Supply and Services.
Speaker, in the public gallery today are 54 visitors from Barhead Elementary School. The students are accompanied today by a number of teachers, Mrs. Maureen Tanzoni, Madame Margaret Cornoyer, parents, Mrs. Adelaide Zemler, Mrs. Moira Elder, Madame Carol André Beaupré, Mrs. Judy Bond, and Mr. Al Blackmere. Mr. Speaker, I'd ask our visitors to rise and receive the warm welcome of my colleagues in the The Honourable Member for Little Bow.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure today to introduce to you and through you 34 visitors from Hazel Cameron Elementary School in Vulcan, Alberta. These children from the classes in Hazel Cameron are accompanied by their teacher, Mrs. Sharon Cockwell, another teacher, Mr. Dick Crosby, Mr. and Mrs. Gary and Val Lobdell, Mrs. Faye Madden, Mrs. Kay Ellis, and Mrs. Diana Card. Would our guests please rise and accept the happiness of ourselves to have you here.
The Honourable Member for Leicester-Slave Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure today to introduce to you and to members of the Assembly 11 students who are from the Kuchitan Mina program in Slave Lake. They are accompanied by with their coordinator, Ms. Arlette Bayrat. And Mr. Speaker, these students are starting over again, as was indicated in the name that I just said. And I would like that they stand today and receive the warm welcome of this Assembly.
Member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce to you and to the members of the Assembly today a representative of a group of the victims of the bench insurance fraud, Mr. Kelly Morton of Olds, Alberta. I'd ask that Mr. Morton stand in the public gallery and be recognized by the members of the Assembly.
Statements. Oral question period.
Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, after 8 consecutive deficits, Albertans are looking hard at what they got for at least a $15 billion and growing debt from this government, Mr. Speaker. We have double-digit unemployment in our largest cities. Qualified Alberta students can't get into our universities, and the number of Albertans on welfare is rising. Now the situation is going to get worse, Mr. Speaker, because it looks like our interest costs are also going to go up. We find out today, Mr. Speaker, that our province is now on credit watch by international credit agencies. My question, Mr. Speaker, is to the Premier. Will the Premier now tell Albertans how he will explain to these credit agencies that Albertans have gone from a so-called balanced budget last year to a $1.6 billion deficit, and now in this year we're going to go up to another $2.3 billion deficit, and that's only the general revenues, not the consolidated debt. How's it going to explain that, Mr. Speaker?
Hear, hear.
Well, Mr. Speaker, these are questions that are appropriately directed to the provincial treasurer, and I will make sure that he responds to the honourable leader of the opposition. However, I would point out to him that these are sophisticated evaluations that are made. These people understand when revenues are dramatically lost. They're dealing with matters like this, both in the energy industry, with banks, other organizations and countries and provinces all over the world, and they do understand these matters.
Well, they're going to be warm and fuzzy and say, gee, Donnie, we love what you're doing here, Mr. Speaker. There's no doubt about it. But, Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious matter. Beyond the deficit that they're talking about, that they're acknowledging, if they lower our credit rating, that's going to cost millions of dollars more, and it'll be added onto our deficit, Mr. Speaker.
Right.
And the Premier is still in charge, not the Treasurer. I take it, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Premier is simply this, Mr. Speaker. Given that this government has certainly lost credibility with Albertans and now losing credibility around the world, the questions they're going to be asking are very simple, straightforward ones asked by both Albertans and the credit unions. How does the Premier justify his total lack of action in addressing 8 consecutive deficit budgets?
Once again, Mr. Speaker, we have been discussing these matters on a daily basis almost here in the legislature. And as I pointed out to the Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, these matters are understood by sophisticated investors and evaluating services. They know that Alberta has had the best record on financial restraint of any government in Canada. They know this. They know that Alberta is bringing in, for the first time in history, strict legislative spending controls. They know that Alberta is taking moves to make sure that this province, which is already the most financially sound province in Canada, will continue to be that way in the future.
I'm sure when you give them that line, Mr. Speaker, they're going to break out laughing. You know, the fact is 8 consecutive deficits, $15 billion in debt, Mr. Speaker. They look at the bottom line, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, the problem is that this government's so incompetent, we've had deficits in the good times as well as the bad, Mr. Speaker. They could understand it was just in the bad times, Mr. Speaker. And the government's frankly doing nothing to help Albertans retrain for new jobs, and the welfare rolls are growing. Right. And my question again to the Premier is simply this, Mr. Speaker. How can the Premier justify a $15 billion debt under his regime, Mr. Speaker, when average Albertans have virtually nothing to show for that deficit, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know how he draws the conclusions he did. There's no question the provincial treasurer has been very open and candid with the legislature and the people of Alberta, has told them about the fact that we have had a resource revenue shock here. We've had a dramatic loss of revenues, and that we've had to bridge our way from that loss onto building a stronger province in the future, at the same time working to reduce the deficit and the debt, at the same time making sure that in our key programs of educating our children, of taking care of those who are disadvantaged and handicapped and our seniors, and those who require health treatment in hospitals, that we are maintaining these programs to the best we possibly can. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, we're managing this loss of revenues. Frankly, Mr. Speaker, nobody likes debt. The provincial treasurer has been very candid about that. But we are going to deal with it, and we're going to deal with it in a meaningful, effective way. Now, I know the opposition would have you believe, Mr. Speaker, that this province of ours is just a terrible place, just in terrible shape, and just falling apart, Mr. Speaker. All they have to do is travel and talk to the people of Alberta, and they know this is a fine province, the strongest in Canada.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition. Second main question.
The government. The province is okay. They got to get rid of the government.
Question.
Let's go back to the budget. This government pretends to consult with seniors, Mr. Speaker, but once again, those who built this province have been betrayed. We see yesterday that the provincial treasurer was again misleading seniors, Mr. Speaker, and I quote from Hansard. He says, "This budget does not take or take away from seniors in any way." And along with that, yesterday we have the minister from seniors assuring seniors that no cuts will be made without consultation. How could they possibly say this, Mr. Speaker, when seniors programs in this budget have been cut by some $25 million? Cuts to self-contained housing, cuts to renters assistance, cuts to independent living programs, cuts to home improvement programs, assured income, Mr. Speaker, home adaptation programs. Those are all cuts. My question to the minister responsible for seniors is simply this. Why did the government mislead seniors in saying that there wouldn't be any cuts without consultation when there were clearly cuts in this year's budget, Mr. Speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm glad that the member prefaced his remarks by talking about misleading the seniors, because it certainly wasn't this minister nor this government that is misleading the seniors, quite the opposite. Let me tell you something about some of those programs. The home adaptation program that he's referring to is designed to accommodate people with disabilities. This is a demand-driven program, and the demand is off. Naturally, the amount of money involved in that program is going to be down accordingly. The Seniors Home Improvement Program was a program that received the last application for that program in 1989. It is in a declining stage. It's been replaced with another similar program, but it's in a declining stage, and naturally the applications for that program are reduced. What about that? So obviously, the amount of money in that program has been reduced accordingly. The senior self-contained program. This is a program, Mr. Speaker, designed to put in apartments and other types of dwelling for seniors. We are building more units this year. Not as many as last year, I'll admit, but there has been absolutely no change to that program whatsoever. The independent living program is the one that replaced the home improvement program, and it started in 1990. Perhaps the uptake isn't quite as much as we would have liked, but this again is a demand-driven program, Mr. Speaker. Should I go on?
Supplementaries, please. Thank you.
Here, I'll tell you what's in a declining stage. It's this government and this minister, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let's look at the specific program. Let's look at the most important cut here, Mr. Speaker. It was cut by $8 million, or close to it, Mr. Speaker. And let's look at those self-contained units, Mr. Speaker. Now, this budget shows that this will be cut by 20%, Mr. Speaker, meaning that a lot of these people, if they can't move in there because there's already waiting lists, will have to move into more expensive institutions, such as nursing homes, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask the minister simply this. Not reaching at all, Mr. Speaker. This is what the seniors are saying. Will the Minister for Seniors tell this Assembly how he plans to save money by forcing seniors into more expensive accommodation?
Mr. Speaker, I have said, and I will repeat, there has been absolutely no change to any programs for seniors in this budget. And there will be none without consultation of those seniors. And I just finished, as he pointed out, I had a very extensive consultation with those seniors, and we talked about a lot of these very programs. We talked about the medical alert program that he referred to that the honourable member referred to. And this is where we put a small transmitter around the neck of the individual to help them summon help. That is a demand-driven program. The Alberta Assured Income program is a demand-driven program, and those demands are off this year, and naturally the program reflects that. The program he referred to specifically, I already stated. We are going to continue to build units this year. There has been absolutely no change to that program whatsoever.
Good work. Bull. Great. What a bunch of bull. You've cut it from $46.5 million to $37.7 million.
Order, order, order. Sorry to interrupt the flow, but that's one of the words we're not using in this place. Thank you. Let's just go with the question.
The baloney, Mr. Speaker, then. That's right. Mr. Speaker, to that minister who stands up, it's been cut, the self-contained housing program, from $46.5 million to $37.7 million. How is that not a cut? Maybe he's using the treasurer's math, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
37 million. Big number.
Mr. Speaker, the reason history repeats itself quite often is because people don't listen. Just last year, about this same time, the same honourable member talked about cuts to a program that we had actually increased by $75 million. That is the same thing this time, Mr. Speaker. I could talk about some of the programs that have indeed been increased in this budget. As a matter of fact, two of the seniors programs, in spite of showing a $1.5 billion deficit last year, two of those programs received $3 million by special warrant. We're not backing off of a commitment, Mr. Speaker, and we're certainly not backing off the commitment to consult with seniors before any change takes place in their program. That is a commitment that we're living by.
Good for you, Rob.
Edmonton Glengarry. Order. Order on both sides. Edmonton Glengarry.
The Treasurer and the Premier have been saying that Alberta's assets are now balanced with Alberta's liabilities. In plain language, both are saying that Alberta is broke. Alberta has received in direct payments from energy resources some $53 billion since 1973. Mr. Premier, my question is this. Will you explain to Albertans where all these assets have disappeared?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's shocking that the member of the Liberal Party, whose own party, when they saw assets and resources growing in Alberta, under the leadership of Mr. Trudeau and Mr. Lalonde, when this Liberal leader, who was a member here, just kept his head down, took his mortgage work and a few other benefits, and never stood up for the people of Alberta once when the National Energy Program was ripping $65 billion out of this province.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of the assets went.
Mr. Speaker, I venture to believe that while the former Premier was drinking champagne, this Premier was probably in the back drinking champagne as well. My second question to the Premier is this. Alberta's assets have gone from $9 billion in 1986 to a less than zero position of $1.3 billion. Our liabilities by 1996 will be $10 billion greater than our assets. Why, Mr. Premier, have you put the province of Alberta in such great economic jeopardy?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I know the honourable members want to be very negative about this province, but the province is not in great economic jeopardy. And I know the provincial treasurer will be glad to debate the figures with the honourable member because he has a history in the legislature of using figures that turn out not to be correct, and I say that graciously. Mr. Speaker, there's no question that this is the strongest province in Canada financially. The honourable member just has to look about this province, and you realize that this province has got a tremendous future in front of it. We're building it, and it's going to continue to be the strongest province of this country.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier has taken this province from a have province to a have-not province, and he doesn't seem to recognize that, and nor do the members opposite here, and I'm amazed. Mr. Speaker, in answer to the question that the Leader of the Opposition put with respect to rating agencies, I don't understand, Mr. Premier, how you can say that they are going to understand and won't re-rate Alberta. I'd like to know what the strategy is, your strategy, Mr. Premier, to ensure that we're not negatively re-rated so that Albertans end up paying more money. Why are
Well, Mr. Speaker, over the years, all provinces, the federal government go through these rating evaluations. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down. That's part of being current with their evaluations. What we will do, Mr. Speaker, is we will not be like the leader of the Liberal Party and the leader of the NDP Party and woe and talk about what a disaster Alberta is. We'll point out to them, Mr. Speaker, the assets of this province. We'll point out to them the future of this province. We'll point out to them how we are going to be able to not only be the wealthiest province in Canada now and the strongest financially, but that our future will also maintain that rating, Mr. Speaker. We've been very candid with the people of Alberta, and the provincial treasurer said it several times in the last few days. Yes, we have had a terrible resource revenue shock, but we're going to work our way out of it. I have this great confidence in the people of Alberta. When you deal with them in an open way, you tell them what the facts are, that they're prepared to work with you and solve the problem. Right. That's what we're going to do, Mr. Speaker.
Red Deer North, followed by Edmonton Jasper Place.
Mr. Speaker, subsequent to a meeting yesterday between the Education Caucus Committee and representatives of the Alberta School Boards Association, I learned that one of the vice presidents of that association, who happens to be a Liberal candidate in the next provincial election, has enunciated a Liberal policy of vowing to eliminate Catholic school boards across Alberta. Now, though it doesn't surprise me that a Liberal would take such a discriminatory stand, this is an astounding position for a vice president of the Alberta School Board Association. My question to the Minister of Education is this: can he give my constituents, indeed all separate school supporters across this province, strong assurances that the government will not withdraw its funding for the Roman Catholic separate school system as this Liberal position would propose?
Hey, boy.
Well, Mr.
It's
Speaker,
hateful
I
liberal.
can give my honorable colleague that kind of an assurance, but I'm afraid the Liberal Party across the way cannot.
Yes.
They want to cut spending. They want to save money by destroying the Catholic education system in this province.
And the private.
Mr. Speaker, I must admit I was concerned. I was concerned to read this new Liberal position. I certainly was concerned for the Calgary Catholic parents that I represent. And I really was concerned for the former chairman of the Calgary Catholic Board, who now sits in the Liberal caucus across the way. Imagine the candidates meeting when they get together and debate party policy. But, Mr. Speaker, I can give the assurance to members of this Assembly, to all Albertans, that we in this progressive Conservative government support public and separate education in this province, and that we support parents making the right choices for their children's education.
Right on.
Thank you for that clear assurance against that ludicrous position. In the interest of gaining greater efficiency for Albertan tax dollars, is the minister either giving or receiving advice regarding rationalizing any school boards in the province?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member raises a very important issue because all Albertans are saying to the people who spend their tax dollars, do it better, do it more efficiently. And Mr. Speaker, we in the provincial government are trying to focus our children's education more on learning and how well children are learning how to read or write or to do mathematics, science, or solve problems. But, Mr. Speaker, there are also opportunities for school districts across this province, and I look at the likes of Lethbridge Public and Lethbridge Catholic, where they are working together to deliver special education to special needs kids by one of those school boards. I look at a new resolution by Calgary Board of Education trustee Peggy Valentine, calling for a better consolidation and coordination of transportation services between the two boards in Calgary. And there are greater efforts in the delivery of in-service, Mr. Speaker, using consortia of school boards in the southern part of the province. But all of these initiatives, Mr. Speaker, are within the ambit of responsibility and the current authority of all school boards across this province. We encourage them to do it, but we're not going to trample on their toes as the Liberal policy, the new Liberal policy would do, by saying you must do it, and we're going to eliminate Catholic...
Thank you. Thank you. Order. 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 Edmonton Jasper Place, followed by Edmonton Meadowlark.
Methinks the problem is the Liberals have too many positions.
However,
once again, Mr. Speaker, the provincial budget contains a very lengthy list of increases in user fees, licenses, and charges. This year the tab is about $16 million. It's an annual rate as much as the deficit spending with nothing to show for it. But now we have $40 driver's licenses, $45 marriage licenses, $20 birth certificates, even youth hunting licenses. I'd like to ask the Premier, because I noticed that the cost of a permit to pollute under the Clean Air Act and a permit to pollute under the Clean Water Act is still zero. If he, as the one who presides over the Magic Kingdom over there, if he can explain why citizens pay till it hurts, but the big companies that pollute pay not one thin dime for their permits.
Oh, unbelievable. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure in the course of budget estimates in committee we'll be able to get into all of the answers the honourable member is seeking.
Mr. Speaker, the matter is of some significance because in the Environment Department there's a unit that costs us $4.7 million that does nothing more than process the permits of Syncrude, Mitsubishi, Shell, Exxon, Daishao, etc. And I wonder if he could tell us today why it is that there's a $4.7 million subsidy to that group in the permit section while every Albertan has to pay increased fees this year.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's exactly because the matter is interesting and important that we take 25 days to discuss it here in the legislature in Estimates Committee. And I'm sure the honourable member will have all the time necessary to talk about it.
Edmonton Meadowlark, followed by Three Hills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Premier consistently ignores the fact that his government has imposed more than 80 tax and fee increases since 1986, including the increase of the basic tax rate to 45.5%, imposition of a flat tax, the income tax surcharge, the increases in health care premiums for single people and families, the fuel tax, the hotel tax, the withdrawal of the renter's tax credit and the utility rebate, increase in motor vehicle registration, driver's license fee increases, incorporation fee increases, standard campsite fees, mechanic certification fee, rustic. Mr. Speaker, it's far too long to try and finish this massive list of tax increases at this time. My question is to the Premier. When will the Premier stop deluding Albertans and admit that if anyone has an obsession with increasing taxes, it's this Premier himself and his government?
Well, Mr. Speaker, that's amazing for the honourable member to talk about the budgets that way that have been approved by this Assembly. It's this Assembly that takes the budgets, evaluates them, and then approves them. So it's done by the Legislative Assembly of Alberta, represented by the people elected by the people of Alberta.
Mr. Speaker, I wonder when the Premier will admit that his tax cut in this budget of less than $30 per Albertan is nothing more than a cheap political gimmick, and I emphasize, of course, the word cheap, that pales by comparison with the
Order. Would you care to withdraw your statement and use a different phrase, please, honourable member?
Expensive political gimmick that pales by comparison with the massive tax increases that his government has imposed over the last 6 years.
Mr. Speaker, I must say that I'm pleased to be able to confirm to the people of Alberta, and the honourable member is giving me an opportunity here, that yes, we are cutting taxes to Albertans in this budget. What I'm surprised about, Mr. Speaker, is the type of opposition that we have here on this matter, which is to oppose for just the sake of opposing. I mean, it's kind of a mindless opposition where you find that they want to be against everything. When there is a tax cut, they are against a tax cut. Now, that is the height of hypocrisy. We have had in the last week, Mr. Speaker, such a desire to be negative and to knock that we've had first, they've been against a forestry development that would provide jobs for Albertans. But they must be negative, so they're against it. We've been discussing a tourism development that would provide jobs and economic activity for the city of Calgary, the area between Calgary and Banff. No, because they must be negative, they're against it. Now, Mr. Speaker, they're in the foolish, hypocritical position of now being against a tax cut for Albertans as well. That's the worst kind of opposition for opposition's sake I've ever seen.
Three Hills, followed by Edmonton Belmont.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Premier, and it's relating to our deficit and accumulated debt. Mr. Speaker, my constituents continue to be concerned, and in response to that concern, I brought forward a motion last year that recommended a legislated framework that would tie expenditures to revenue. Now, we see, in terms of the budget address, the Honourable Provincial Treasurer has indeed made some progress in that regard. He is saying that we should have a ceiling, a legislated ceiling, on our expenditures. I wonder if the Premier would relate to this legislature why this course was chosen as opposed to the one that was discussed last year.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased that our Cabinet and our caucus have recommended and are proceeding with legislative spending controls. While we have been able, Mr. Speaker, to keep spending at the lowest annual increase basis of any government in Canada, we want to ensure that now when our revenues are dropping, that rather than tie the spending to the revenues and try somehow to work on the gap there, Mr. Speaker. We are saying even when revenues come back, as they will, we are not going to allow those revenues to be put into greater and greater spending and programs. We are putting in a limit of 2.5% increase this year, 2.25 next year, and down to 2 the year following. So that, Mr. Speaker, when those revenues come back, faith in Alberta, obviously those revenues will. The revenues cannot go to spending. They must go to reduce the deficit and the debt.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate some of that rationale, but I note in the budget address that, and as the Premier has just indicated, we are talking about a 3-year program. Now, the Provincial Treasurer has made comments about when he hopes that we will be able to achieve a balanced budget. I wonder if the Premier will explain to the House whether or not this legislation will have a sunset clause and how we propose to handle this particular situation beyond that 3-year period.
Well, Mr. Speaker, with the volatile nature of the economy in North America these days, the government felt, and the Provincial Treasurer is carrying the legislation, felt that to look out 3 years was the most effective estimates that a person or a government could make with any sense of certainty. As you know, we have had such dramatic ups and downs in our revenues that we did not want to lay out a plan that went beyond accurate forecasting. So, Mr. Speaker, we will consider after the 3rd year, during, I imagine, the 3rd year, whether or not this legislation can be extended or made even more tight. I should say this, Mr. Speaker. Remember that these are maximums. They are not minimums. And I would hope that while there is a target of 2.5, 2.25, and 2, that we can do better than that, and we'll reduce our spending even more.
Belmont, followed by Calgary Northwest.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Labour, and also to let the Premier know that we're not knocking everything. I, for one, am quite glad that there was a job creation announcement in the budget. I'm sure that that's good news for a number of unemployed Albertans. But unfortunately, it seems to be, Mr. Speaker, a bit of a hollow promise. There were 287 permanent and temporary government employees yesterday given notice that their jobs were gone. In addition to that, there were 700 full-time positions abolished, 273 of which were in the Department of Family and Social Service. This at a time, Mr. Speaker, when we have record numbers of needy families trying to access social services. To the Minister of Labour, I'm wondering if the Minister can try and attempt to justify this move to slash jobs, which does not either stimulate the economy or guarantee quality of service to needy Albertans.
Speaker, I beg your pardon. Mr. Speaker, as everyone knows, we are going through a transition in this province, as is everybody economically in North America, and we are moving to a new economy, and in doing so, of course, we must respond as a government as well. So we're going through some transitions here in addition. What we're doing, of course, faced with a structural deficit is looking at our own organization and making sure that we, too, respond to the exigencies of the time. Now, we have looked very carefully at our civil service. I must say here, and let me say it publicly again, that we honor our civil servants who are dedicated people working to serve Albertans. And over time, we have moved to reshape the service so that it is concentrated and focusing on services that Albertans need. 1,000 full-time equivalent positions have been cut this year. Most of those were vacant because our managers are anticipating the changes that are needed. And so we were lucky enough to impact only 157 people. We are dealing with them in a way that we hope will enable them to get other jobs, either in the private sector or with ourselves. But always the emphasis has been on service to public, and we have accordingly been shifting our resources to frontline services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Perhaps I could direct my supplementary to the Minister of Career Development. The Minister of Labour talked about structural changes and need to change the focus of the requirements of our society. Mr. Speaker, the complete elimination of funding for the vocational training programs and other cuts to pre-employment training programs signifies that there's been a change of policy by this government. How is it, Mr. Speaker, that the government can find $1 million to give to the tailor-made training program while at the same time cut $5 million of funding from pre-employment training for people at the low end who really need this assistance to get back into employment?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know what the applause is for other than for an inaccurate statement. And Mr. Speaker, I welcome the opportunity to have this discussion when the department's estimates come forward, and in detail, and as well as the Minister of Advanced Education, because I'm sure the honourable member will be pleased to learn that there's some inter-transfer relationship in regards to those funding projects as well.
Calgary Northwest, followed by Calgary Milliken.
Speaker, my question today is to the Minister for Economic Development and Trade. The government estimates show that for the 1990-91 fiscal year on loan guarantees, the government lost $6 million, and yet $165 million, and this year only budgeted $6 million. My question to the Minister is that with Gainers, Magcan, Novotel, just to name a few, still hanging over our heads, what has changed to suggest we're only going to lose $6 million this year?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure if the honourable member was in the Legislative Assembly yesterday or not when the leader of his party, the member for Edmonton Glengarry, put that exact same question to the provincial treasurer, and I would refer him to Hansard of yesterday for the response.
Well, then maybe he should read it himself, because you'd see there's nothing there. My supplementary then to the Minister, to the $6 million man, since the government has finally adopted the recommendation of the Auditor General to record losses when they occur, and we know there's lots coming, will the Minister agree to table on a monthly basis the losses that they occur so we know when we've used up that $6 million?
Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member is aware, the public accounts were released by the provincial treasurer. It's under his responsibility which that detailing falls. I'm sure the honourable member will want to put that question to the provincial treasurer in the future. If he doesn't, I'm more than happy to take his representation and pass it on to the provincial treasurer.
Cypress Radcliffe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Agriculture. And Mr. Speaker, it's related to the announcement in the budget and the agricultural portion of that announcement on the Western Economic Partnership Agreements. And I wonder if the member can inform the Minister can inform the Assembly that part related to the Agriculture Department and the replacement of the old nutritive processing agreements, when that information and those forms will be available for constituents that have been waiting for some time. When is it going to be available so we can get to work on diversification?
Mr. Speaker, the agricultural component of the Western Economic Partnership Agreement will be being delivered to the Agricultural Development Corporation. They're currently in the final days, I hope, of drafting the agreement with the federal government and getting it ready for signature. The most practical date that I can suggest at this point in time will probably be about May the 4th if we can stay on schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Supplementary question. Can the Minister assure the Assembly and assure constituents of mine that under this new program there will be a minimum of red tape so that we can, once the project's accepted, we can get quick action, get it through, and get the business on the way?
We will certainly do our best, Mr. Speaker, to achieve the objectives as outlined by the honourable member from Cypress Redcliffe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Consumer and Corporate Affairs. The legislative and regulatory vacuum revealed by the bench insurance fraud is exacting a terrible toll on the victims of that fraud. Kelly Morton's family stands in danger of losing their hard work for farm as a result of the $80,000 that is still owing to them. And the Agricultural Development Corporation continues to demand by June 1st a $10,000 payment, or they will take legal action in respect of it. Given the dire and urgent need of the Mortons and the other victims, can the minister tell the Assembly, given also the fact that the government shares some responsibility as a result of the legislative and regulatory vacuum, what steps it intends to take in order to see that the victims are not forced off their farms?
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, with respect to bench insurance, I wouldn't agree with the honourable member's assessment regarding a regulatory failure. The government did, in fact, act as soon as it had the material available, called in the RCMP, froze the accounts, and pulled the licenses of the agency involved, as well as dealt with the individual who is responsible for that agency. I do have considerable sympathy for those who have been harmed by the collapse of the agency, and I have been discussing with the Minister of Agriculture the difficulties involved with the Agricultural Development Corporation loans, which some of the people involved have interacted with. Mr. Morton's case is more unique than some others in that he had a settlement and now disputes that settlement. I met with him personally last week, and we continue to explore the many pieces of the puzzle that is there with regards to his insurance policies and the difficulty that he's in.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, surely the minister must agree that there is a regulatory and legislative vacuum at the very least if he says there's no regulatory failure. And I'm wondering if the minister will please tell the Assembly what specific measures he intends to implement to protect consumers and prevent a reoccurrence in the future.
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member and I had this discussion last week in question period, and my answer would be the same. We certainly will assess the process that we go through at the moment with regards to the licensing of insurance agencies and the Insurance Council process. We will see if there aren't some other ways to better try and catch those who would break the laws of the province and therefore cause such difficulties. However, those would best be assessed once we know the full magnitude of the problem. I have to emphasize with the honourable member that this is the subject of a police investigation. We are very much tied to that police investigation, and moves or information given that might inhibit the proper administration of the law in that regards, we could not share information on.
Followed by Calgary Fish Creek.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, wealth and competitiveness come from well-educated and well-trained people. My question is to the Minister of Advanced Education. How does the minister justify cutting student aid by 5.6%?
Well, Mr. Speaker, Alberta has a pretty good system of student financial assistance. As a matter of fact, when it comes to disadvantaged students and single parents, we're the envy of Canada with more than $20 million to those special students. This year's budget that we'll get to in estimates, Mr. Speaker, in recognition of increasing tuition costs, in this year's budget there's $8.8 million more money available for student loans than there was in the last fiscal year.
Mr. Speaker, with this cut, student aid will have declined. There is a cut. Mr. Speaker, with this cut, and I repeat cut, student aid will have declined 31.6% after inflation. Many students have to use food banks regularly. How does the minister expect students to survive while he continues to whittle away student allowances?
Mr. Speaker, I certainly don't want to be critical of the honourable member in terms of reading a figure and reading too much into it out of an estimate book. We spent a year reviewing tuition fee in the Student Finance Board, and they clearly told us, Mr. Speaker, a couple of things. One, we should check up on students who unfairly access that system. We put an audit system in place, and because of the audit system, we were able to save $4 million that we're able to use for other students. Second point, Mr. Speaker, was for some years, in addition to the Scholarship Trust Fund of $100 million, we've been paying out from general revenue scholarships for the Pope, scholarship for the Queen, scholarships for other people, which now exceeds $2 million, and we've transferred that to where it belongs, the Scholarship Trust Fund. So, Mr. Speaker, I look forward to the estimates because, on balance, we have saved the taxpayers of Alberta money while making $8.8 million more available to students in this province.
Calgary Fish Creek.
Mr. Speaker, if I may, I'd like to direct a question to the Premier. The federal constitutional minister has recently indicated that he'd be prepared to consider a reformed Senate in which the provinces are represented equally. However, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Clark has linked this important policy shift to a reduction of the powers or the effectiveness of a reformed Senate. I'm wondering, could the Premier outline to the Assembly today to what extent would the government be prepared to negotiate Senate effectiveness in exchange for provincial equality?
Mr. Speaker, it's true there's been a great deal of intergovernmental activity being conducted recently, and the Honourable Deputy Premier, who has been representing us in these meetings and doing it very well, will perhaps be able to either augment my answer or respond to a supplementary from the Honourable Member if there is one. But on the matter of Triple E Senate, Mr. Speaker, the Government of Alberta's position remains very, very firm. That is that any new Senate that we will support must be elected, must be effective, and it must be equal. We will not support a Senate that does not have those principles within it. But we have always felt, Mr. Speaker, that the effective powers must be dealt with with a great deal of sensitivity. We did not want to merely have Parliament put into a deadlock where the House of Commons and the Senate merely stopped action between the two houses of our Parliament. And anyone who has listened to our government, or for that matter, Mr. Speaker, if they had followed the Horseman report, the all-party committee report, they would know that we have always said that the powers must be built along these lines. I'll just take a moment, Mr. Speaker, because it is important to Albertans. That is, in areas of exclusive federal jurisdiction, we could see that the Senate would not have extremely powerful powers. But in areas of exclusively provincial jurisdiction, we would want the Senate to have tremendously powerful powers. And we would want for sure that an effective Senate would be able to stop a national energy program, as an example. Then in areas, Mr. Speaker, where we have overlapping jurisdiction, that is, the federal government and the province both exercise certain powers in some areas. In those areas, you would have to have powers, effective powers, that are somewhere in the middle so that they can both fulfill their responsibilities. So, Mr. Speaker, that has been the Alberta government's position on effective powers for some time. The committee's report also goes into the same type of recommendation, and I'm looking forward, Mr. Speaker, as more and more Canadians and other governments understand the Alberta government's position, realize how serious we are in terms of equal, elected, and effective, that they will see that this is the way our country should be built in the future.
Well, Mr. Speaker, perhaps I could direct a supplemental then to the Minister of Federal and Intergovernmental Affairs. I understand that his counterparts from across the country will be meeting here in Alberta at the end of the month. Could the Minister share with the Assembly which areas of Senate reform will be on the agenda and whether or not Senate powers will be on the table?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the last week has seen 3 days of meetings which I participated in, which necessitated my absence from the House. I'm sure all the members missed my attendance, but in any event, those are 3 days of full meetings with all governments represented, as well, except Quebec, unfortunately, and the 2 territorial governments and the 4 Aboriginal groups at the table now. Those meetings took place in Halifax and in Ottawa yesterday. There will be meetings here on the 29th and 30th, and then during the month of May, every week, at least 2 days, and sometimes as long as 3 days, will be taken in intensive meetings. So we're going through the process in a very detailed way, and I can assure the member from Fish Creek, Mr. Speaker, that all aspects of Senate reform are going to be dealt with in a very detailed and considered way. We had preliminary discussions yesterday which took some hours, and what we are achieving in this process, as the Premier has said, is a better understanding on the part of other governments of what Alberta is really proposing. And I hope that that understanding will flow from those governments and through media coverage of the events to a better understanding by all Canadians that what we are proposing, what our select committee put forward, and which will be debated in this Assembly before the meeting here on the 29th and 30th, that we are proposing an instrument, Senate reform, which will promote national unity in that it will have a federal parliament which will function properly in a federal state. And I can assure members that I will appreciate their advice and their support as we go into these vital negotiations for the future of Canada.
Point of order, Calgary McKnight.
Mr. Speaker, under Beauchesne 4.9 sub 7 refers to prohibition against imputing motives. Mr. Speaker, the personal attack questioning my motives must be withdrawn by the Minister of Education. My commitment and that of my party to Catholic education is stronger than ever. Catholic schools have provided excellent educational service to Albertans for well over 100 years. Shall I repeat what they didn't hear?
They heard. Well, honourable member, that seems to originate in various parts of the House at various times. Order, please. It's happening in your own caucus right now.
Will continue to be totally committed to the Constitution of Canada and to the public and separate school systems which it cherishes. The candidate was speaking on his own behalf, and his concern was about non-functioning school boards. Mr. Speaker, I ask that the member from Shaw withdraw this comment imputing my motives.
Order, please.
Look at the blues, but I can assure this Assembly that this member, that this minister never imputed motives, never questioned the honourable member's motives, and if she wants to go back, honourable member,
Please, Edmonton Glengarry, please control yourself. You're not helping the issue at all. This is still a parliament. Order! The matter is between Calgary McKnight and the Minister of Education. There'll be no other comments from any quarter of the House. Minister of Education.
And in fact, Mr. Speaker, I expressed sympathy and in fact support for the honourable member for Calgary McKnight, having served in an earlier capacity as the chairman of the Calgary Catholic Board of Education, and wondered aloud as to how this new member of the candidate team for the Liberals, presumably expressing Liberal policy, how that debate might unfold. And Mr. Speaker, I was relying on information that I received by way of newspaper articles, in addition to, I gather, some 15 people who attended the Liberal nomination meeting in Fort McMurray, all 15 people who witnessed and heard from this newly acclaimed, not contested, member of the Liberal team in the next provincial.
Order, please, Honourable Minister. Let's be perfectly clear. We are dealing with comments about Calgary-McKnight. Any withdrawal or apology would be in the nature of any comments which may or may not have been made with respect to Calgary-McKnight. Again, it's pointed out sometimes the unreliability factor with respect to newspaper accounts, of which many of us are all too aware personally. The Minister would like to make any concluding remarks?
Mr. Speaker.
Edmonton Whiteland, are you deaf of hearing? Please be quiet. The Chair recognized and still recognizes the Minister of Education.
Mr. Speaker, if there is any doubt, I ask you to go back to the Blues and note that I supported the member for McKnight, expressed concern for her, but questioned the new policy of the Liberal Party in this Assembly.
That's it.
The Chair will review the Blues and perhaps the matter can be dealt with before the conclusion of the day's business. Both the member for Calgary-McKnight, the Minister of Education, I trust, will make certain that their schedules allow them to still be in the chamber at the end of the day. Please and thank you. Orders of the day.
Order. Government motions. Motion number 12.